Have you ever had to sacrifice anything to live your most authentic life?
That's a good question. I don't think I've had to sacrifice anything. I definitely have made changes, but the reason I don't view them as sacrifices is because I've identified this as my authentic life. So therefore, to me, like sacrifice has a negative connotation to it. Like I'm giving this up. I don't really want to, but I have to sacrifice this thing. There might be things that I would like to be doing, but they don't align with my authentic life. But my authentic life is the most important thing. So it's not really a sacrifice to be there. Now, what I would say, there have been sacrifices that I'm doing right now that are keeping me from a future version of my authentic self. So stay with me. That may not make sense, but we'll go back to my love of the West Coast, California, Arizona. I believe somewhere along the timeline of my life, there will be an authentic version of myself that lives in the West Coast. I would love to be there today. And maybe I can make the case that there is a more authentic version of me today that lives in California or Arizona. But when I look at what is most important to me today, it's Ange and the boys. And while I would love to be out there, and that is true to who I am, it's not true to who I am today because their unhappiness, their anger with me for making them move would be greater than the happiness I would derive being in California, if that makes sense. So getting back to the original question, I am sacrificing being in California today to live an authentic life, but I don't think that I'll never be out there. So as I kind of talk through this, maybe I am making sacrifices today to live more authentically to who I am today. Who I am today is here in Fishers because the boys and their sports and their friends, quality of life in Indiana, income needs are much different than what they would be in California. We could make California work, but the family would have to sacrifice a lot and they don't want that. So I think part of like thinking about your authentic life as an individual, but how that fits in with a family is kind of hard. Like, how do you blend those things together? If it was me by myself, I didn't have a family, best believe 2024 version of me in that situation would be out west. But that's not who I am because I do have a family. So it's like being true to who I am within the constraints of the life that I have. And it's going back to priorities. What's more important? And for me, it's more important for Ange and the boys to be happy and be in a situation where they thrive, to be in a position where we are financially free, to be able to go to New York City for Roman and train with Chris Brickley, or for us to put Leo on the MLS Next team, or for us to send Silas to art classes. Like, to me, being able to do those things are more important and more valuable to me today than being out west. So yes, I am actually making sacrifices, but I think of it, when you originally asked me, I thought about, am I giving up things to be where I am today? And I thought about it from a negative standpoint, like things that I'm mad I have to give up. I don't have any of those things because there's nothing that I'm not doing today that's more important than the things that I am doing. But there are things that would be nice that I sacrifice because now is not the right time. There will be a time for that. So I think that when you think about what do I need to sacrifice, if you think about it for your case, it's how do you figure that out? And it all goes back to your priorities. And that all goes back to, I think, knowing who you truly are. The more you can get connected to the authentic version of yourself today, we talked about it last time, like I was being true to who I was and I was being authentic back in the day, but I wasn't the most authentic version of myself for then. I believe I am the most authentic version of myself today. So knowing my priorities for today helps me figure out what do I need to quote unquote sacrifice, but those shouldn't feel like sacrifices because maintaining the alignment, maintaining who I am today is far greater than whatever that thing might be. And it could be a variety of things. It doesn't have to be as big as moving across the country. It could be tons of things, but I do think there are things that you will end up getting rid of or shedding that no longer serve you, or there may be things that you have aspirations to do. And right now is not the time for it, but it doesn't mean it's not the time for it in the future. So I'm able to maintain authenticity and maintaining this West Coast soul that I have and getting out to California a couple times a year and like allowing that part of me to experience a little bit of it, but then coming back to what's most important today.